Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I wanted to show you this. C3 Nick had put this out, and I wanted to show you this. What he had put out here. It's from the SEC. It's a report that they put out. SEC Office of Compliance Inspections and Examinations announces 2019 examination priorities. He took a quote here. It says, "This year, 2019, particular emphasis will be on digital assets, cybersecurity, and matters of importance to retail investors, including fees, expenses, and conflicts of interest." And then down here below, C3 Nick says, digital assets should have been one of the examination priorities in 2018 already. The USA essentially lost a full year of innovation because the SEC is so slow. Other countries like Asia are rushing ahead to leapfrog the U.S. regulators. Better act fast. And he's got it. He's dead on it right here because I think that these politicians are kind of stepping in. If you remember earlier this week, the politicians are pushing through a bill to have digital assets, to amend the Securities Exchange Act, and to make digital assets, I believe they wanted to call them digital tokens, or classify them as something other than a security. And they're probably stepping in because the SEC and some of these people are acting so slowly. Moving along, this I found pretty interesting. I wanted to at least pass this along to you. This guy has put up a cheat sheet on, he's at Aaron Corbs. He's put up a cheat sheet on trading patterns, which I don't do a lot of chart analysis and all of that type thing, but this guy's apparently into charting, and he gives you this is a cheat sheet for those of us that don't really know much about it, and he shows you the ones that are bullish, and then he's done the ones that are bearish, and he says that if you follow him, and then he can provide you with the actual cheat sheet. And I thought that's pretty cool. I might get the guy to send me one. Moving along. Now, this is what I really want to talk about today. These are the riots that are going on over in France. Now, if you're paying attention, the financial world, and really just the world in general, is getting a little bit scary. This is all things that were easily predicted and have been predicted by anyone who's been looking at this through a responsible lens at the world and what these banks and central governments of the world, the position they've put all of us in, with what I tell you about all the time, which is the running up these ridiculous debts and then turning around and expecting the people to bail you out once things hit the fan. And so this is going on in France right now. The riots in France, these people are, from what I read in this article, these people are, their minimum wage is not enough to live on now. And so these people are starting to get really angry, and they're getting angry at the elites over in France. And this is about to happen worldwide, because the governments of the world have been able to paper over 2008, but you're about to see what 2008 would have become if they had not come in and printed money and bailed out and QE'd this and QE'd that. You're about to see, because everything they did was just kicking the can down the road and putting off the real solutions to the problem, which is to let people fail, let everyone fail, and let it all, and then you rise from the ashes in those type scenarios. Well, now look at what is happening to the stock market. This was the worst December for the stock market since the Great Depression. Now, I'm here to tell you people, you hear these people in financial news all the time talk about crypto's a bubble, this, that, Bitcoin's a bubble, and all this. The real bubble that they never want to talk about, the real bubble is the one worldwide that is crumbling right in front of everyone's face. And that is the debt bubble that has been created probably over the last 50 years plus. They have built up to the mother of all bubbles, the debt bubble. And this debt bubble is going to crumble. And in my opinion, crypto will literally be what saves the world. And you and I that were in crypto early, I believe that we won't just thrive from this. I believe that the people who hold any kind of reasonable amount of crypto, it will be what you've heard before, which is the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. And you're going to see everybody's going to be hitting the exits from any of these investments that have risen up because of debt's been taken on and money printed and federal government intervention from the Treasury and everybody else. All of that is going to crumble, and what's going to rise up is true finance, which is transparent finance. Remember, the Federal Reserve has never been audited. Ever. Never been audited. You can audit XRP from your computer at home right now, and you can see how much is out there. Everybody can see it. With an address, you can see how much is there. Imagine a world where the Federal Reserve had an XRP address, and you could just go and check. Oh, yeah, they've got $10 trillion worth of XRP. Imagine that world. That's why crypto is going to save the world, because the people are sick. Those French riots, the people are angry. They're sick of all this elite garbage where these guys have controlled. What they've literally done is you've had centralization of power, which means you've had corrupt politicians who are controlling the money, whether it's printed or not, and are increasing the debts, and they're taxing the people to pay for their mistakes. And eventually, it was just a matter of time before that all comes crumbling down. Look at what's going on here in Venezuela. They're saying that they might reach 10 million% inflation. 10 million% inflation. That is unbelievable. Their money is literally garbage now. And what Venezuela in turn did is they tried to create their own digital asset, which none of the people believe in. And see, there's a really good point there too. And this is a really valid point that you need to get out of this. One of the things that is most interesting, the people of Venezuela, ask yourself this question: why do the people of Venezuela not want to buy into the Venezuelan? I think the digital asset they created, it's called the Petro. Well, there's one reason that those Venezuelan people do not want to be in the Petro, and that is faith. They don't believe in the issuer. And for that reason, you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, these central banks, they can just issue their own digital asset. Well, if central banks issue their own digital assets and people have a choice to go into digital assets that are not controlled from the central bank, they will go with the ones that are not controlled if they have an option. And they do have an option because this is a global thing, and all of these countries in the world are not going to agree. But I wanted to draw your attention to this article. Bitcoin, and now keep in mind, as is usually the case, they use Bitcoin as a representative of all crypto. But I wanted to read you a couple of things out of this. What would be Bitcoin's, this is from this article, what would be Bitcoin's fate in this collapsing financial landscape? One of two things could happen is that highly speculative and ultra volatile digital asset Bitcoin could crumble along with the global markets in the event of recession. The second being, and this is the one I believe, that countries and anarchists who believe in economic freedom could adopt Bitcoin and other digital currencies, leaving the fiat in its grave. And then the title of the next section is Bitcoin, the underdog, could swoop in to save the world. Unlike fiat currencies, Bitcoin supply can never be increased to more than 21 million. Thus, it won't suffer inflation at the hands of centralized governments. Now that goes for XRP too, and any of the good digital assets. Thus, it won't suffer inflation at the hands of centralized governments like Argentina's peso or Venezuela, where Bolivar lost almost 100% of its value. If you bought Bitcoin 2 years ago, this is a quote from Mike Novogratz. If you bought Bitcoin 2 years ago versus the S&P and other asset, you're still up more. If you bought Bitcoin 2 years ago versus gold, you're still up more. If you bought Bitcoin a year ago, quite frankly, you're up more. So you've got to sometimes step back from the immediate and look at the slope we're going on. It's actually close to a miracle that some guy created a program and 10 years later still has $80 billion of value as a digital store of value. That got David Swenson from Yale to invest in it. That got Abby Johnson from Fidelity to say, we're going to build a business over in crypto. Now think about that, people. No matter what they say, the Wall Street people, they're coming in, and they're not coming in for no reason. They know what's going on. But the bigger picture is that Bitcoin and digital assets literally, in my opinion, will save the world as a result, directly because of don't take lightly the word decentralization, because that's ultimately the reason that this conversation, that's what it really means, is taking the power away from these corrupt people who have run the world up into ridiculous debts and then tried to tax the people to pay for the things they've done. Digital assets and XRP will save the world. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that XRP and crypto will save the world. Thank you for listening.